Most headphone amplifiers are boring. They either sound sterile or they're overly colored to fake emotion. The Pass Labs HPA-1c is neither. It's the rare amplifier that actually gets it right. When life gave Pass Labs a parts shortage, they didn't cut corners. They built one of the best headphone amps on the planet. Any audiophile familiar with Pass Labs has heard of the company's headphone amplifier, the HPA-1. Since its debut in 2016, it has become one of the most respected headphone amps on the market, admired for its natural sound and uncanny tube-like character without using any tubes. Now, nearly a decade later, Pass Labs introduces the HPA-1c at just above $4,000, and on the surface, it looks the same, but under the hood, it's a serious refinement designed to take headphone listening to the next level. Before we dive in though, if you're passionate about hi-fi audio and you want honest takes on the gear that moves this music world, make sure that you hit subscribe and join our community. There's a lot happening in the hi-fi industry and you don't want to miss out. Now let's find out what makes the HPA-1c better than the OG. So, what exactly did Pass Labs change? At first glance, you might think nothing has changed. The chassis, the weight, even the front panel looks identical. But under all that armor, Pass Labs went to work. They completely redesigned the power supply, increasing current draw from 8 watts to 23 watts, leaving plenty of headroom for those demanding audiophile headphones. The grounding and PCB layout have also been updated, resulting in lower noise and greater circuit stability. And speaking of circuitry, local regulation has been added to the servo circuitry, reducing noise by 10 decibels. That's a major difference for anyone who listens with highly sensitive IEMs, and our CEO and founder, Drew Baird PE, actually has a great story about what may have inspired this upgrade.
Thanks, Kayla. So about 2 years ago, we had sent all of our gear from Moon Audio to the Florida Audio Show down in Tampa. And right before we left, I got a call from a customer who was really interested in finding out about how the HPA-1 sounded with his IEMs. So I didn't have his exact pair of IEMs, but I did have one from the same manufacturer. They were Nobles. I've got a pair of K10s. I also had a couple of other IEMs that were highly sensitive, so I took about 3 or 4 pairs with me to the Florida show, and I was like, hey, this would be a good time to really sit down with the Pass Labs with IEMs, which honestly, I really hadn't done a whole lot of. I've used that amp with so many different headphones, but IEMs was never really in the mix. And so my results were pleasantly really outstanding, but the bottom line is his IEMs were still a little more sensitive to any of the ones I had there. The problem with sensitive IEMs with the headphone amp is if you've got too much gain, and this is a powerful amp at I think about 1.5 watts, you can get a little bit of background hiss from the power supply. So after all of my experimentation of listening to different IEMs, I reached back out to Kent at Pass Labs because the customer had also been in touch with them to find out what their thoughts were. And so this sort of started a spiral of events to make further improvements to an already great headphone amp to see if we can make it not just excellent at hard to drive headphones, but fabulous for IEMs. So as Kayla has explained to you all the different changes that were made, we went back, got the new HPA-1c in, tested with a whole plethora of IEMs, and yes, absolutely fantastic and better than the original HPA-1. Incredibly quiet, so much quieter than before. Not that it was noisy before, but granted, with some high sensitive IEMs, obviously you're gonna get a little bit of background hiss. Completely gone with this amp. Great job, Pass Labs. High five. All right, back to you, Kayla.
The superpower of the HPA-1c is twofold. Not only can it drive even the most power-hungry headphones with impedances of 15 ohms all the way up to 600 ohms with ease, but it can also act as a line-level preamp in any stereo system. The HPA-1c's headphone output delivers up to 2 watts into 32 ohms with a low output impedance of 2 ohms. And that preamp section is capable of driving a typical power amp load, which is typically 10 kiloohms or higher with very low output impedance. With its discrete Class A design and robust output stage, the HPA-1c can serve as the heart of your reference speaker system. The HPA-1 was celebrated for its natural, dynamic, and engaging presentation. And the HPA-1c carries that identity forward. It's smooth, balanced, and true to the music without that artificial warmth or coloration. With full-size planar magnetic headphones like the Dan Clark E3 or Grado HP100 SE, it provides incredible control and dynamics, driving them with ease. But the real test is how it handles IEMs, like the 64 Audio U12T. At 108 decibels, these are pretty sensitive IEMs, and sensitivity usually makes amps hiss like crazy. Yet, with the HPA-1c, the background was completely silent. If there was ever any audible noise to begin with, it's certainly been fixed, and it's not present in the HPA-1c. And it's refinement like that that makes it not just good for big cans, but secretly a gem for IEM listeners. I'll be completely honest with you guys, I never thought to use the HPA-1 or HPA-1c with IEMs. Anytime I ever listened to it, it was either in your typical stereo system as a preamp or just with full-size headphones. So you can imagine my delight when I discovered truly how well this component complemented IEMs. So if you're an IEM listener who also enjoys headphones, I can happily affirm that the HPA-1c is the perfect amplifier for any audiophile collection. Listening to Sinatra's song, Luck Be a Lady, which is one of my favorite songs by him, the HPA-1c delivered texture and presence without fatigue. Switching to Taylor Swift's song, The Archer, the amp beautifully conveyed the song's melancholy and emotional depth. The HPA-1c can connect you emotionally to the performance, which, in my opinion, is one of the hallmarks of a great amplifier. It disappears and just lets that music take center stage. Like I mentioned earlier, the exterior design of the HPA-1c remains unchanged. It looks nearly identical to the HPA-1. You've got the same brushed aluminum case, same rock-solid build quality, same minimalist front panel with 3 buttons, a Pass Labs logo, a locking Neutrik headphone jack, and a precision volume knob. And while some may grumble that there is no balanced connection for the headphone jack, the 1/4-inch Neutrik headphone jack is reliable, rugged, and made for signal integrity. The front panel buttons control the inputs in preamp mode. Press the respective button for input 1 or 2 and the preamp button to use it as a line level preamp. And for the back panel, they still offer 2 RCA inputs and switchable preamp outputs. I used the Blue Dragon interconnect cables to connect the HPA-1c to the Orander A200 for my listening sessions. The Blue Dragon is designed as a neutral solution. It's meant to disappear between the components in your system. With 0 interference and no added coloration, the Blue Dragon interconnect was the invisible link between the A200, HPA-1c, and Magic Music. One unique feature that's worth mentioning that's present in both the HPA-1 and HPA-1c is that Pass Labs suggests leaving it powered on continuously, as it's actually designed to run optimally this way. However, the final call is yours. Keep it on for daily listening sessions or turn it off while you're traveling for extended periods. After you switch the amp on via the back panel control, the power LED on the front panel will gently pulse while the unit warms up. This takes roughly 20 to 30 seconds, but once it glows steady, it's go time. Coming in at 14 pounds and roughly 4.5 by 14 inches, it's small enough to fit on a shelf or inside a cabinet easily. And for you aesthetically conscious audiophiles, you can now choose between black or silver finishes. But aside from that, this amp might not make a statement with its looks, but it surely makes a statement with its sound. So there you have it. No balance connections, no remote control. It's classic Pass Labs, pure, stripped down, performance above everything else. So here's my take. The Pass Labs HPA-1c is not a radical redesign. It's refinement in its purest form. At just above $4,000, it preserves everything fans loved about the original HPA-1 while solving one of its only real weaknesses with sensitive IEMs. It can serve as a line-level preamplifier in your home audio system or as your dedicated headphone and IEM amplifier. That's the true power of the HPA-1c. It's not flashy or gimmicky, it doesn't try to do too much, instead it does one thing really well, and that is bringing you closer to your music with honesty, dynamics, and emotion. If you enjoyed this breakdown and want more reviews of gear that actually matters, make sure to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what headphones would you pair with the HPA-1c. And I also invite you to check out one of our most recent videos on amplifiers, going over the basics of what a DAC is, what an amp is, and why you need both in your hi-fi system. We've got an in-depth review on the HPA-1c linked in the description below, so check that out for more information. We'll see you here next time with another Moon Audio video. Thanks for watching.